Atypical Church.
Hello there, welcome back to Atypical Church. Once again, it's your favorite chaplain, and I am going to try to keep doing these videos as much as possible, so I'm going to upload another quick one for you today. So last week I talked about the toxic atmosphere idea, and specifically what kind of atmosphere you are allowing to happen in your life. The ways to avoid that, or to make sure that you know who you are and know the person that you want to be, so that you know when the atmosphere around you is contrary to the lifestyle that you're trying to create for yourself. So this week I want to talk about a couple of guys in the Bible in the Old Testament who found themselves in a situation that was not the atmosphere they really wanted to be in. And I want to talk about how they knew who they were and they were confident in their God. And even though the people around them didn't quite see things the same way they did, we can learn a lot of great things from the way they responded to the atmosphere they were in. So this message will be simply entitled Toxic Atmosphere Part 2. Okay, so before I get into the message, I want you to think about your favorite chocolate bar or candy bar in the States. For me, I'll just say a Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. If I were to find one of those, I would maybe even pick it up and eat it, depending on where I found it. But if I found it in a garbage bin, at the bottom, maybe it's a little melted, maybe it has maggots all over it, it's not quite as exciting, right? Sometimes the atmosphere we're trying to create for ourselves and the one that we want to be in is simply just not happening. And even though we try to impact it, we try to make a difference or whatever, it's kind of hard to just sit in that. Well, Caleb and Joshua were part of the exiled Israelites that we read about in the book of Exodus. And of course, you probably are familiar with the story of Exodus. The Israelites finally got away from Pharaoh. They saw God do a lot of miraculous things. He parted the Jordan River. Manna and quail came from heaven for them to eat. Water came from rocks. They even had a pillar of fire at night and a cloud during the day to tell them where to go. So God made this as easy for them as possible, yet they still complained and grumbled and kind of just didn't know what to do or where to go, and really just pushed back every chance they got. Well, Joshua and Caleb did not do that. We finally see them getting to the promised land, or at least what should have been the promised land. And we read that story in Numbers chapter 13, where it says, "The Lord said to Moses, 'Send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe, send one of its leaders.'" I want you to remember that part where God says, "the land that I am giving them." It's important that you hold on to that phrase. So 12 spies go into Canaan and kind of check out the land to see if it's good for them or what they need to do to try to get in there and that kind of thing. And this is what the first 10 say when they return to Moses. Numbers 13, they gave Moses this account. "We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit. But the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there, which are giants. The Amalekites live in the Negev, and the Hittites, the Jebusites, and Amorites live in the hill country, and all the Canaanites live near the sea along the Jordan." Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." So unfortunately here we know that Caleb and also Joshua were the only two that came back with a positive report. In Numbers 14, 6-9, where it says, "Joshua son of Nun and Caleb son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had explored the land, tore their clothes and said to the entire Israelite assembly, 'The land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them.'" And unfortunately, I'm sure you know the story, the people didn't listen to Joshua and Caleb, and they actually thought about stoning the two of them. And because of this, they all had to wander in the desert for 40 years. And we know that the other 10 spies were actually stricken down, and God says that he wanted to just do away with everybody, with all the Israelites. But Moses pleaded with God, and God spared them. But they still had to wander in the desert. What's interesting here is that Joshua and Caleb did the right thing, and Moses as well, but they still had to wander around with these grumbling and whining and complaining Israelites for 40 years. And I can only imagine the things that were going through their minds during this 40 years of, man, we did everything the right way. Why are we getting punished? Can't we just go into the promised land and, they can walk around and die off and then their offspring can come back or something? Unfortunately, that's not the way it worked. But what's really cool about this story is the fact that Joshua and Caleb do eventually get to go into the promised land. We read the words of Caleb in Joshua 14. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land, and I brought him back a report according to my convictions. But my fellow Israelites who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt in fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day Moses swore to me, the land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses, while Israel moved about in the wilderness. So here I am today, 85 years old. Now, it's pretty amazing that God kept this promise and continued to watch out for Caleb. And although we don't get to see a whole lot of interaction of Joshua and Caleb in that 40 years, we know that they obviously stood strong in who they were and in who God was and in what they believed. And that's what we can do no matter what the atmosphere is that's around us, whether it's toxic because of us or because of other people, or we're trying to change but we're having a hard time. We can still remain strong in who we are and in who God created us to be and in who our God is. The famous Greek philosopher Epictetus said, the key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. So this kind of harkens back to last week's message, but are you keeping an atmosphere that is encouraging you, that is calling forth your best? And to summarize today's message a little bit, even though you might be finding yourself in an atmosphere that really isn't great, how are you responding? Are you an encourager or a discourager? What are you allowing to influence your atmosphere? And more importantly, how long are you willing to wait? Because here we know Caleb and Joshua waited a very long time, but God did come through. And I believe he will come through for your life as well. No matter what situation you find yourself in, just continue to hold on strong. Trust that God is there with you and he is guiding you and walking you through whatever you're facing. And eventually your atmosphere is going to change. So I hope this has helped you today. God bless. Thank you guys so much for watching these videos. I really appreciate it. I pray that God uses them to bless you. Remember that most of these ideas are based on my book, Becoming Ever Mindful, which you can find online or here in Calgary at these locations. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. God bless you.